So there's a little bit of a time delay. You recognize that because we are sitting in different parts of the world. So it
just a
takes
little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit of lag. Yeah.
And with that, our episode has begun. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Cloud Unfiltered. I'm your hostess with the mostest, Nikki Acosta. And we have an awesome guest with us today. We're going overseas to Sweden to talk to our good friend, Per Werngren. Per, introduce yourself.
Thank you, Nikki. It's a pleasure being here. I have been in tech all my life. I don't know the nitty-gritty of technology, but I know strategy, and I have been living in the Microsoft ecosystem for the past 15, 16 years.
And how did you get through technology? I mean, I saw your profile and I read up on you. You're an entrepreneur, you're an investor, you're an advisor. Tell us how you got into all of that stuff. Take us back a little bit. Were you one of those interesting kids in your younger years who toyed around with computers?
Yeah, a little bit. I toyed around, and my father bought an IBM PC in the early 80s. That was pretty fun. And when I finished school, I started to trade in computers. So I bought Apple computers from the US and sold in Europe to a discount. Apple hated me, but it was really great business. So that's how I started.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And
that's pretty neat.
Yeah, it was great business, and I learned a lot. And with a partner, I set up a company in England, and we sold computers, especially Apple computers, to large advertising agencies, and that was fun years. And in parallel, I started, today we are talking about recurring revenue, software as a service. So we did in the early 90s networks as a service. We built a network together with servers and everything, and we took care of the maintenance, and we charged a monthly fee. So that was a little bit early, but it was fun and great business. So that's what I've been doing. I also invested in consultancy companies and a few ISVs and computer rental and computer leasing businesses. And that's a little bit around everything when it comes to computers. But I haven't programmed myself, never.
So you're an academic developer?
Yeah, kind of. So I love marketing, I love sales, I love leadership, I love business development, but I'm wise enough to let good engineers do the nitty-gritty.
Awesome. I could totally understand that. I also am not known for great development skills. Been involved in OpenStack for a long time, and I know that you also had set up a hosting provider, correct? And sold it.
Yeah, that's right. So I transformed a decent consultancy business in Sweden to we went from selling hours to selling services, and then we transformed our managed services portfolio to selling hosting services, and that was a great journey. I sold that company last year. We were one of the top hosting providers in Scandinavia. And I sold it to the largest retailer in Scandinavia called Dustin. So Dustin, they have 100,000 customers, but their customers used to buy hardware, but tomorrow they will probably buy services. And that's why they needed a decent hosting provider to serve their customers with the needs that they will have.
And talk to us about your role with the IAMCP. First, tell us what IAMCP is.
Yeah, first of all, apologies for that acronym because it is always hard to pronounce. IAMCP, and it stands for International Association of Microsoft Channel Partners. It is a business network. It started out in the US back in the early 90s, I guess. I took over as worldwide president 2004. And at that stage, we were in 4 countries. And when I left the international board, actually this year, I left an association with presence in 44 countries. And this business network is a must for a Microsoft partner, because the members do business with each other according to IDC to a value of $10 billion every year, which is really great additional revenue. So I used to say that if you pay your membership fee and you don't see the value after a year, I will personally refund you.
Wow, that's a good guarantee. And so it's grown substantially. You've stepped away from that now. You were chairman for a while.
I was chairman for 4 years, and I sat as vice president a few years, and running Europe, Middle East, Africa, and the Pacific for a while. So then I thought that, well, it is time to do a refresh. I'd done that journey. I took it from 4 countries to 44 countries. I had great fun, and it was time to leave the association to a new leadership team. So I'm happy, and it is like watching your kids grow up. I'm super proud of the IMCP, and I'm still a member.
Still a member. So,
yeah, but just a member.
Talk to us about sort of, Microsoft's transformation. I mean, you think of companies that have kind of made, these massive transformations over the years, and Microsoft is absolutely one of them. As far as like, they've changed their core competencies for partners, and, they've rolled out those programs. Like, what was the magic behind being so successful in moving to cloud, and what skills were important as some of these partners transformed from kind of these old ways of doing business now to embracing cloud and software?
Yeah, so Microsoft have done the same journey as most of their top partners have done. They had a business which was about selling a license and then selling an upgrade. And it was very transactional. You needed to do a lot of innovation in order to persuade the customer that bought a license back a few years to buy a new license with a new version. So it was a business that was good for them. It was a great business for its time. But then when Microsoft started to experiment around software as a service, recurring revenue business models, it was hard for the people inside Microsoft to persuade the sales and marketing teams to help them, because it was not such a nice and cozy business to sell perpetual licenses. And partners loved control. They loved selling a piece of hardware, install the license, and do the maintenance. And partners were also really resisting the new business models. But then when Steve Ballmer held a speech, I think it was at Washington University, things started to shift. And when Satya Nadella took over, things shifted a little bit faster. So now Microsoft has done the journey from selling perpetual licenses meant to be installed on-premise to selling services. And one key element for Microsoft and for partners and for everyone in IT is that you need to change your compensation models. If your compensation models are built in a way so that it is better to sell in the old fashion, your people will never sell the new and fresh services. So you need to change the compensation models, and that's what Microsoft did. And it was a struggle inside Microsoft, but when they managed to really change the compensation models, the new products were more loved by the salespeople. And that is the same thing that Microsoft partners have done. Some of them have got rid of their old salespeople and brought in new, fresh salespeople that understands how to sell in a new world, sell recurring revenue services. And I think it is sad that it is hard to transform old salespeople, but sometimes if they are not changing their behavior, despite the fact that you have changed the compensation models, you need to bring in new people. So it's been a struggle, but for Microsoft and for partners that have done this journey, it has been a rewarding journey. And we see now that the Microsoft stock has recovered and is at really decent levels. And it's the same with Microsoft partners, that once they have transformed their business to a recurring revenue business, their enterprise value that we talk about when we buy and sell companies is so much nicer than if you are putting a value on a transactional business. It is night and day.
And it's different the way that you think about customers. I mean, I've kind of followed the space for a while, and the shift from, looking at this transactional model into thinking about customers over the value of their lifetime. So customer lifetime value. And it seems like such a minor thing, because, you think about customer lifetime value, you think, okay, well, hasn't a company always valued their customers? But the value is different than it used to be. I mean, if you're on a subscription model and you don't like the service that you get, ostensibly you can leave and look for something else, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that is also a little bit of a mistake that some companies do. They try to lock customers in. They try to sell 3-year agreements or even 5-year agreements. But in reality, if you want to be successful, it needs to be easy to sign up, but also easy to sign out. So customers should be able to leave at an instant. And that keeps vendors on their toes, so that they need to make sure that their services are great, so that customers want to continue being customers, not lock them in.
And the upside of that is, instead of waiting for an upgrade, realistically, you should be getting new features as they become available, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. So that is also something that it's a new rhythm for the people that develop products. Instead of developing new big upgrades, you are constantly upgrading. You probably have a rhythm so that you are doing it once a month or once a quarter, but you don't do it every 3 years. So it's a constant upgrade cycle. So your customers expect you to give more, and your duty is to always try to give the customers a little bit more. And that's what keep them still being customers, and it is also great for recruiting new customers, because the best way to attract new customers is to have a customer base that loves your product and that talks about it on social media and everywhere.
Speaking of new features that roll out, I mean, it's hard to not see AWS as kind of setting a pace for just incredibly rapid innovation. But where do the Microsoft partners find themselves in relationship to Azure versus Amazon? Or, is it they're using both? Is it that some things are better for one versus the other? Is there control issues? Is there security concerns?
Yeah, so I would say that Amazon deserves respect, Google deserves respect, and Microsoft deserves respect. I believe that as a Microsoft partner and as a customer that loves Microsoft technology, betting on Microsoft Azure and betting on the products like Microsoft 365, Office 365, Dynamics portfolio, etc., makes sense, because Microsoft is they are both a platform company and an ISV, and that combination is really compelling. If you look at things around artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, BI, Microsoft have done a decent job adding that functionality to their services on the Azure platform, and also on the Office 365 platform. You have a lot of functionality, so that if you are a developer, you don't need to develop everything from scratch. There are services that you can plug in that works well, and that are, some of them are for free and some of them are almost for free. So it is a richer environment if you're betting on Microsoft Azure and a 365 portfolio than Amazon. But I still believe that Amazon, they deserves a lot of respect.
So where are partners making money with Microsoft? Traditional partners. I mean, obviously there's probably some that have crossed the divide. There's some who haven't.
Traditional partners are still a little bit leaning on selling hours. They might package their professional services into projects, but it is very much based on selling hours. More and more partners are discovering that instead of leaning on selling hours, they can document and standardize their IP, their intellectual properties, and try to sell a service, a managed service of some kind. And that's where you really earn your money. If you're selling hours, traditionally you will have a margin of like 10%, 10-15% over the course of a business cycle in your company. Of course, the gross margin is higher, but the net margin will be 10-15%, more closer to 10. And if you're selling managed services and you have packaged your IP, you will probably see something that is at least 3 times higher. 3 times higher in margin, but also when it comes to valuation of your company, it is 3 times higher. So that's where Microsoft partners are making money, and that's where they should try to make even more money.
So give us some examples of this intellectual property, or some customer examples that you've seen.
Yeah, so I can give you a few partner examples. I love Catapult. Catapult, they were a traditional SI, and they started up a new department in their company that was all around selling services in the cloud. And after a few years, that department became their biggest asset, and they got bought by a Chinese company, I think it was last year. And they are super successful. They are around 1,000 employees. There are also partners like Nintex that are up in Seattle, that are born in the cloud, and that are making great business. And when you're born in the cloud, you don't have necessarily geographical boundaries, so you can sell your services all around the globe, and that's what they are doing. So there are a few partners that are really making a good living, but they need to embrace the new model of delivering computing services, and they need to make sure that they have sales and marketing people that are really up to it.
Do you see? Go ahead.
Yeah, and that leads me to another thing that I want to point out, that it is important that marketing needs to change. It needs to be digital marketing more, and less old guys in suits going out on customer calls. Perhaps you need them, but you should lean much more on digital marketing. So digital marketing, which is around storytelling, blogging, and everything around that. It is like when you are buying a new car or a new dishwasher, you probably do the most of your sales work yourself. And a study that I read, you have probably also read it, says that the 60% of the customer journey is being done before the potential customer is being known to the company that might be the ones that are selling the services. So you need to capture them as early as you can, and you need to be relevant online. And if you're relevant online, you can also in a much better way fine-tune how you do marketing, and sales, and it's so much better, so much more efficient than doing it old-fashioned way.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of any time in the last 2 years that I've eaten at a new restaurant without first checking online reviews.
Yeah,
You know, and you think about
yeah,
that.
and the online reviews you are checking is peers, other guests that have been there. It used to be that you were looking at the New York Times or the Sagat Guide, or perhaps Guide Michelin, but nowadays it is people just like you that have been there, and what they are saying is so much more credible than if someone else is saying it.
So what does that mean for salespeople? Do salespeople deserve less money? Do they deserve to make the same amount of margins? Do they?
Yeah.
What is a salesperson supposed to do?
First of all, perhaps you need less of them, and if you need less of them, perhaps you need more young people that are born in the cloud era. For some verticals, and this is also important, that it is more verticalized now than it used to be before. For some verticals, you need the old fashion salespeople, the ones that really knows the business. But it is less sales and more subject matter experts that you need. You need people that really can go in and have a consultative sale instead of people that are just selling anything that's on the shelf.
Yeah, I mean, I think about our own Cisco salespeople and just the sheer number of products they have to know about in order to be able to service their customers. And it's a lot. It's a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
and I think about that often, you know, like reducing sales friction, being able to get, you know, customers the ability to get their hands on the software without necessarily even interfacing with a salesperson. You know,
yes.
Is that what the future looks like?
Yeah, that is part of the future, but we all know that it's never fully what we dream about. It's not. It's not. We will still have in some verticals people that are selling the traditional way. But if you are a salesperson, you need to make sure that you also become a subject matter expert, and you need to embrace the new ways that you are going to engage with your customers. Otherwise, you are toast. You'll be like a dinosaur. You're out.
I've done some internal videos throughout my career teaching salespeople how to use Twitter, even, you know, and it seems like such a minor thing, but it's so critically important for salespeople to have these digital skills. It's kind of go ahead.
Yeah, and social selling is the word. Social selling, if you are a salesperson, lesson A, start to use Twitter. Lesson B, start to use LinkedIn. Lesson C is to make sure that you are relevant on these platforms so that you can drive conversations and you can engage in conversations without selling. If people see you as being a subject matter expert in a field, they will trust you, and eventually that will give you business opportunities. So social selling instead of driving your old Chevy up the street.
Do you find a mistrust in technical roles? Do technical people typically distrust traditional sales people and traditional marketers? I find that a little bit. I wonder if you find it too.
Yeah, I agree. Very much so. And it is also a fact that we used to sell to the IT departments, but so we used to sell to technical people, but more and more the IT budgets are being controlled of the line of business. It is marketing managers, it is all kinds of managers that are not related to IT that control most of the spending, more than a majority of the spending. And in order to engage with them, you can't just sell. You need to understand what their needs are, and you need to come up with solutions for how to give them a better feeling so you are relevant to them. So
it seems like it's more of a conversation online than it is sort of a megaphone approach or a billboard approach. People tend to be interacting, and there's probably an emotional component there that wasn't there before. in some way. At least I feel that way.
Yeah, I think so too. And you need to be relevant. You need to be honest. And if people see you as not being honest, just selling whatever you have on the shelf, then perhaps they want to engage with someone else.
Yeah, no kidding. So do you know anything about Microsoft's sort of internal enablement? You talked about some partners and how they had to hire new salespeople, but what has the effort been like on Microsoft's front to transform their massive amount of salespeople and partners to be able to even be relevant in conversations around cloud and automation and software as a service and those types of topics?
Yeah, so
it's not something that can happen overnight, I'm guessing.
No, it's a journey. And Microsoft have done most of the journey, but it has taken some time. A lot of people have went away, and a lot of new people have been brought in. So changing compensation models, that's one thing. Making sure that people inside Microsoft are not working in silos. They are not working just on their commitments. They are instead working more as part of a team. That has been a major thing that Satya Nadella has brought in. He has really changed the mindset. And Microsoft did a reorg this summer that will further enhance this, and it will make it easier for customers to engage and easier for partners to engage. So I think that they are really on the right track, but it has taken a few years, and of course there's been a price to pay, but there has also been a nice reward in terms of Microsoft being so much more relevant now than perhaps they felt that they were 7 years ago.
Yes, so fascinating. I'm sure someone could write a book about that kind of transformation that would be hugely popular, because it seems like the technology part is not so difficult, but it seems like the cultural element is what is so difficult. Old processes, old ways of doing things, old ways of interacting with customers, all that has changed.
Yes.
And continues to change. And who knows what it's going to look like 5 years from now or 10 years from now when you have artificial intelligence everywhere.
Yeah, perhaps you and I will be redundant. AI will take over our jobs.
Hopefully AI won't have good podcasts though.
Yeah.
I'm banking on that.
Perfect.
So we're getting close to time here, but I wanted to ask you about one more thing, because you've written extensively about diversity, and it's timely given recent events that have happened at Google and other places, and lawsuits and all kinds of things. But I wanted you to have a moment to share your thoughts on gender diversity and just diversity in general, because I think you have some very good points to make.
Yeah, so thank you. So first of all, I think it is really strange if you say no to talent. You need to embrace talent regardless of gender, race, faith, or something else that you feel being unusual. So I believe that having diversity enriches any organization. Having people, if you have an organization with all male, white men of Christian faith, well, you will probably not be able to serve all of your potential customer base. And you will not come up with the most relevant ideas for how to develop your business. So I believe that it is so much more compelling if you say yes to people that are not just like you. And then if we specifically drill into gender, we need to help women to rise into the CEO seat. We need to make sure that we empower women, so that we give them a helping hand and give them the opportunity. And it's a little bit ladies first. We as men need to open up the door. We need to make sure that we see potential female leaders, and that we help them to rise to the top. It is something that that was my farewell gift to the IMCP association, making sure that we started a project with a female project manager, making sure that all our 44 countries should feel a pressure to elevate female leaders, to make sure that when they were nominating people to president, VP, and secretary and other positions, they should look a little bit closer on if they had female candidates. And that's an ongoing project. I'm super proud of that project. Part of that project is also to make sure that we bring in more people that are not white, and more people that are not Christians. But paramount is to make sure that it is ladies first.
And part of that, we talked a little bit about this before the show, was just, larger cultural attitudes, things like paid leave for women who are having a baby, and men too, right?
Yeah, so some of the very best leaders that I have recruited have been moms. Moms that after a while wants to come back and work. Super brilliant people, and they often, I don't want to generalize, but I can generalize still. They often have another type of experience that makes them really good leaders. So that's my tip of the day, to find moms that wants to return to work. They will be excellent leaders. Take a closer look at them, and they will probably be a little bit more loyal, perhaps, than some of the men.
I love that about you. Thank you for talking about that. I know it's a hot topic, and there's a lot of, political stuff happening around that topic. It's become politicized, but it's really refreshing to see someone who is so passionate about helping women get into roles, because it's good for business, right?
It's great for business, and it's also the decent thing to do. We need to make sure that we see all people. We need to see female leaders. We need to see people that are Black, people that are Muslims. We need to embrace diversity, and that will make better businesses that can take on more diverse markets, and it will also create more innovation, I believe. So don't say no to talent. Embrace diversity.
Yay! What a great way to close this out. Well, where can we find you on Twitter? It's just your name, right?
Yeah, just my name. P-E-R Werngren. Easy to find.
Werngren, and it's down below. If you're on Google, it's down below underneath the post. We'll also link it for you in the blog. So thank you, Per, so much for joining us. Thank you to our audience. Like, subscribe. We're doing a new format, trying to shorten the show a little bit, because some of you have said that you want to be able to listen to a full episode on your commutes. So we're shooting for about 30 minutes now, but let us know what you think. Follow us on Twitter at Cisco Cloud. Follow me at Nikki Acosta, and we will see you next week. Say bye, Per.
Thank you, Nikki. Thank you, audience. This was great.